It turns out that Michel Pereira is all hammer and no nail. Anthony Hernandez just absolutely walked through him for 25 minutes. My name is Angelo. This is We Want Picks, and I'm going to walk you through the entire UFC Vegas 99 fight card, recapping and reacting every single fight. But before we talk about the fights, let's talk about the bets. We give you prediction videos every single week. I give you betting breakdowns every single week. And if you're a premium member, you have access to even more bets. And guess what? All of you made money. Premium members brought home a whole bunch of money. My bets, specifically a 20% return on investment. I gave you a plus money for the second week in a row, safety parlay, and it hit for the second week in a row at plus money, third week in a row overall. The lady round over parlay crushed. The Darren Elkins money line crushed. I did miss my massive favorite parlay, and that's fine. Both legs of that broke. We'll talk about those fights. And then Michel Pereira got smoked in the main event, but it's okay. We weren't overly exposed because that's not what I do. I don't take a fighter and put him in 9 parlays like an idiot. I am very specific and precise about who I bet on, how I bet on them, and where the risk is. But I wasn't the only one who made money. Jakey Boy made money as well. Darren Elkins was his underdog lock of the week. Crushed. Jean Matsumoto was Jacob's most confident pick on the night. That bet hit. That fight was close. We'll talk about it. Overall, We Want Picks gave you 1.83 units of net profit, a 14% return on your investment, and it continues to be a very profitable venture. Go to WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member. It's freaking $10 for an entire month. We gave you a bunch of profit this month. We gave you a bunch of profit last month. Every single event, every single month, we are up. WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member. It's $10. Unlock everything you need for UFC 308, which is next week. We also had the best DraftKings ownership projections on planet Earth for UFC Vegas 99, a 3.28% margin of error. And if you compare that to the Awesemos, the Roto Grinders, these massive DFS companies with literal millions of dollars behind them, cannot compete with what we're doing and how we are doing it. WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member. It's freaking $10. Don't be a cheap bastard. These 4 cards are what you will get for that $10. You're going to get 2 pay-per-views. UFC 308 and UFC 309 are all within a 1-month window. Let's talk about the fights. The card opened up sketchy. The very first fight, out of the gate, I lost a bet right off the gate. And I imagine a lot of you did as well. Because Robelis Despaigne shit the bed for the second fight in a row. And you know what? Last fight he came out there, he fought Waldo Cortez. Waldo Cortez is good. All right, Robelis fought a good guy and lost to a good guy. But losing to Austen Lane is not a good look. And Austen Lane doesn't suck. He was a former NFL player, so he's a 1% athlete. But Austen Lane does not have a ton of fighting skills. The fact that Austen Lane was able to survive anything on the feet and then get it to the ground is a real problem. Austen Lane has no chin. He gets knocked out with dirty looks. And we have Robelis Despaigne, a 6'7" man, an Olympic Taekwondo medalist, a guy that was supposed to come in here and knock out Austen Lane. The UFC set this up for Robelis to get a knockout. Do you think the UFC said, hey, let's pay this Olympian a ton of money to come in here and lose? No. They don't care about Austen Lane. They gave Austen Lane a few opportunities. He blew it. This was his first UFC win. He just lost. This is his first UFC win. He won on the Contender Series, got knocked out twice in the UFC, and they said, all right, we're done with you. Let's give you this guy. Robelis is going to knock you out, and then we're going to tell the world that Robelis is the best fighter. We're going to build the shit out of him, put some big fights on the board, and be done. That's not what happened. Robelis cannot defend takedowns. If he gets taken down, he's useless as hell. And you know what? On one hand, it's insanely obvious. We literally saw it with our own 2 eyes in his last fight. Couldn't defend the takedowns, couldn't get up. But again, we made excuses. I'm in this camp. I'm not shitting on you. I am in this camp. We made excuses. Oh, that's Waldo. Waldo's good. It's no big deal. He'll be okay. He'll knock out Austen. Austen sucks. He spells his name Austen. That guy sucks. And while Waldo Cortez isn't great by any stretch of the imagination, turns out he's good enough to win this fight. And I think we have to be done with Robelis. I think the UFC has to be done with Robelis because the reality is he's 36 years old. He's not young. He is too old to be learning to defend takedowns at this point in his career. He's too old. So the UFC has to be done with him, right? Like, am I wrong? Because what are we going to do? They're going to throw him in another fight against who? Who are they going to give him? The loser of Kennedy and Chuckwu and Chris Barnett next week? And then we're going to all get sucked into the Robelis Despaigne hype train when all you need to do is get him on the ground and then he can't move. If I saw Robelis Despaigne in a hotel lobby and he was like, hey, you're the fat asshole that talks about fighters, I'm going to punch you in the face. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to shoot a takedown. I've wrestled my whole life. Robelis is getting taken down. Guess what Robelis is going to do? Nothing. And we just saw that. And I'm sorry about this rant in the very first fight. If you're watching this and you've never seen me break down fights before, there's chapters in this video, just skip ahead. What's frustrating about this is the pinnacle of the sport. These are supposed to be the greatest fighters that could walk the face of the earth. That's what this is. The Ultimate Fighting Championship, the UFC, is supposed to be the greatest, most talented, well-rounded fighters on planet Earth. And then you get a guy making more money than anybody else at his level with the amount of fights and experience he has, who can't defend a takedown. Cut his ass. Be done with him. Send him to the PFL so he could win a bunch of fights and we could pretend that he's good when we all know he isn't. Then we had 3 lady fights in a row. 2 of them sucked. 1 of them was good. This one sucked. But it was interesting because we had some referee snafu. So let me walk you through this fight. And you're going to, I can already picture the angry comments. Just listen to the words. I know my voice isn't normal right now. It's better than it was. Listen to the words. First of all, Alice Ardelean was 100% saved by the referee. If you didn't see this fight, the fight essentially was 2.5 rounds of Alice Ardelean moving forward, Melissa Martinez running as fast as she could, backwards and sideways. Melissa Martinez wanted nothing to do with this fight, was literally backing up, running backwards, running sideways, just being mobile, trying to avoid any engagement whatsoever. And Alice Ardelean moves forward, throwing strikes, trying to get takedowns, just trying to make something happen. Because Alice Ardelean's not afraid to fight. Couple of things. One, Alice Ardelean wears damage. Some people just wear damage on her face. Alice Ardelean, if you sneeze hard, she's going to get a swollen eye. You sneeze the second time, she's going to bleed. So she wears damage on her face, which is not a great look. But she's the one moving forward. Melissa Martinez is the one who's afraid to engage. First 2 rounds felt very clear to me Alice was controlling. Third round got interesting. Because Alice is moving forward. Melissa Martinez lands like a heel kick to the gut. And Alice just completely folds over. Holds her, like her crotch/gut. Like, ugh. And the referee stops it. Because he thought it was a low blow. When in reality, it was not. They go to replay, it was not a low blow. So now the referee was put in a weird position where, and this is all like official rules, they talked us through it on the broadcast, where he had to decide either go to the scorecards right then and there or let the fight continue. He was not allowed to rule it a TKO. In reality, listen to the words I'm saying. In reality, what probably should have happened if the referee didn't interfere is Melissa Martinez lands that kick. That kick clearly fucked Alice Ardelean up. The referee should have let it go because it was not a low blow, perfectly legal kick. Melissa lands a bunch of strikes. It probably ends up being a TKO. That's probably what happens 9 out of 10 times. But that's not what happened here. The referee made a call. That call was wrong. The referee was 100% wrong in his call. But he made a call. Then he let the fight continue. So they went to the judges' scorecards. And the judges said Melissa Martinez won this fight 30-27 across the board. I got a problem with that. That is not how that fight went down. Alice Ardelean, if you are going to the judges' scorecards, again, if you are too stupid to listen to the words that I'm saying and you comment on this video, some dumb shit, I'm just going to delete you from the channel because you're useless. Here's the words. I'm going to say the words again so we can all listen clearly. Alice Ardelean should have been stopped in the 3rd round. The referee should have let that continue. That was not a low blow. If it continued, Alice Ardelean is fully bent over, holding her crotch and stomach, probably gets hit a few more times, and the referee stops it. That's what should have happened in a perfect world. We do not live in a perfect world. So that's not what happened. The fight continued and went to the scorecards. Now, if we reverse engineer those scorecards, Alice Ardelean won that fight. Melissa Martinez won the third round, clearly. She lost the first, she lost the second. The data is right here in front of you. Alice Ardelean basically doubled the strikes in the first round. 20 more significant strikes in the second round. She was the one moving forward. She was the one who had a few seconds of control time. So we had one person who landed way more strikes, significant strikes, no less, way more strikes, and was moving forward. How did she not win the first and second round? What's the criteria? She wasn't dropped. She landed more strikes and she moved forward. She won the first round. She won the second round. She clearly lost the third. That's when she was dropped and all that bullshit. If you want to say it's a draw and you want to call the third round a 10-8 because of the weird referee situation, I'll even listen to that. I will not listen to Melissa Martinez winning a 30-27 across the board. That's such bullshit. And I didn't bet on this fight, so don't give me this cope nonsense either. I didn't bet on this fight. Jacob did, and his bet won. So I'm working against We Want Picks right now by saying I think Alice won this fight. And I think she did. I am curious. I saw a mixed bag on Twitter. I saw some people agreeing with me, some people being like, Angelo's a simp for Alice. Look at the stats. Here's the stats. What's simping? The numbers don't lie. And if you watch the fight with eyes, she moved forward. And even in the totality of the fight, including the third round where she got dropped, she landed more total strikes, more significant strikes. She was the one moving forward, controlling the range, controlling the octagon. The only thing I can think of is Alice Ardelean wears damage. You barely hit her, she gets red. That's the only thing I can think of. I thought she won that fight. Then we had an exciting lady fight. This was the exciting lady fight. Ish. The next fight was actually very exciting. This one was okay. We had a veteran in Jessica Penne taking on Elise Reed. First round, very clearly Jessica Penne. Moved forward, got the cage control, just used veteran savvy. Also size. Jessica Penne was massive in this fight compared to Elise Reed, at least. Moved forward, controlled the octagon, controlled the cage, controlled Elise Reed, won that first round. Second round, Elise Reed was able to get off the cage, finally able to get off the cage, avoid being pushed up against it, let her jab go, was snapping Jessica's head back, and all of a sudden, Elise Reed's a clean striker, a powerful striker, taking over. And Elise Reed looked fantastic in the second, more of the same in the third. I actually was nervous as shit. I parlayed the over 2.5 in all three lady fights. First fight was easy. At no point did it look like that fight was going to end, other than the gut punch, and that was after 2.5 anyway. Then we get to this fight, and it's like, oh shit. In the second round, it looked like Elise Reed was going to finish Jessica Penne, but Jessica Penne toughed it out. She's a veteran. But Elise Reed took over. Elise Reed looked fantastic as that fight went on. Her hands are good. She clearly has some power. Obviously, she has to work on getting off the cage, because if Jessica Penne was able to hold you there and take an entire round from you, somebody a little younger, a little faster, a little sharper will be able to do more of the same. What's funny here, though, is I'm here, right? I watch these fights half at home, half at a restaurant. We went out to dinner with a bunch of friends. Jacob was there live, in person, at the Apex. And I don't want to spoil everything, and I'm not going to share his video clips because maybe he's going to make a video. I don't know. But he was there cheering on Elise Reed, yelling, pump the jab, and Elise pumped that jab, and that jab worked for her. And then after the fight, Elise Reed came over to Jacob like, oh, blah, blah, blah. So Jacob is saying he won her this fight. Maybe he did. But Elise Reed, once she got off the cage, it was very clear who was in charge of this fight. She had some real power in her hands. Jessica Penne showed some toughness, as she did in her last fight as well. Showed some veteran savvy, as she did in her last fight as well. But she's a little too old, a little too slow. Like, you got to be done. If you can't beat the Elise Reeds of the world, you got to be done. And that's not an insult. Weird inflection. Insult to Elise Reed. It's more of a, like, Elise Reed's alternating wins and losses. You got to win those fights if you're going to stay in this division. Then we had the final lady fight. And it was an absolute slobber knocker. This is what we call a slug fight. They went at it. They absolutely went at it. We had Joselyne Edwards taking on Tamires Vidal. Joselyne Edwards missed weight. She was 3 pounds overweight, showed up anyway, and you could see it. She was just the much bigger fighter because she was thick, but also much taller. She was the much bigger fighter here. But the weight miss did not affect her cardio. She moved forward. She didn't slow down. She was busy. At one point in time, both of these women, who neither one of them have any power at all, pointed to the ground and did their best Max Holloway. And it's like, you're doing a Max Holloway right now? What are we talking about? What are we talking about? You guys aren't finishing anybody standing. Turns out, Joselyne Edwards did win this fight by finish, but it was like well into the third round. The 3-lady over 2.5 parlay did hit. But Joselyne Edwards looked good. So Tamires Vidal, what did I say in the breakdown? She moves forward, she throws haymakers, and she tries to get it to the ground. That's what she did. That is what she did from the jump. Move forward, close the distance, threw absolute bomb haymakers, did nothing with them, tried to get takedowns and couldn't. Joselyne Edwards defended the takedowns. Joselyne Edwards was throwing like crazy, had beautiful combinations, did great body work. She took over, defended the takedowns. It was a clear Joselyne Edwards after the first couple minutes. First couple minutes, Tamires looked good. And then Joselyne just continued to build steam, build momentum, build steam, build momentum. Very clear Joselyne Edwards was the better fighter. She won the fight. All good. Tamires should be cut, gone, goodbye. Sorry, get better. Joselyne Edwards, though, what do we do with her? She can't stay at this weight class. This wasn't the first time she missed weight. I think this was the third time she missed weight at this weight class. You can't just keep doing that. So I don't think they can give her another, okay, here, finally, a benefit of the doubt. One more fight. You can't. She's missed weight multiple times. She has had multiple opportunities, and she screwed herself because this card had a lot of decisions. She probably was going to get a performance of the night bonus, but no, you missed weight. So I think she has to move up in weight. And I don't know how well she'll do up an entire weight class, but Joselyne Edwards won this fight, and she looked very good doing it. Then we had Jacob's biggest bet of the night, Jean Matsumoto taking on Brad Katona. This was a close fight. This was a back and forth war. And this was the exact fight that you need to see somebody like Jean Matsumoto in. This way we know, oh, he can be hammer and nail. We know that he can be in a back and forth tough fight. We know he can fight somebody that can give him a hard time and he won't break and he won't quit. We'll talk about the main event in a minute. But Jean Matsumoto looked good in this fight. So did Brad Katona. This was a 29-28 across the board, and it was a close fight. Brad Katona was moving forward, staying busy with the hands, threatening takedowns, staying busy with the hands, threatening takedowns. Cardio for days. Brad Katona is a tried and true veteran, the only 2-time Ultimate Fighter winner ever, and he looked good in this fight. But Jean was just a little better, a little slicker, a little more powerful, a little faster, just a little better everywhere. Brad had a beautiful elbow in the first round. Jean was having nothing but success. Beautiful elbow in the first round, cuts up Jean, gets Jean questioning like, okay, there is some power on the other side of this cage. I got to be careful. But overall, it was a great fight. We saw everything. We saw wrestling. We saw striking. We saw everything. Jean's takedown defense is good. His offensive striking is good. His counter striking is good. What was happening early is Brad Katona was throwing kicks. Jean would block the kick, boom, send a strike over the top, and crack Brad Katona with it. Jean looked good. And was this a absolute domination from Jean? No. But I'm glad it wasn't. And what did I say this whole week? I was like, Jacob's very high on Jean. I'm not as high on him. I think he wins. But Brad is the exact type of guy that can come in here and win this fight. And that was the breakdown I gave. And that's exactly what we saw. Brad was almost in a position to win the fight. Couple more moments of success. Couple more of those elbows. And he can win. I'm glad Jean won. We need prospects. And I'm glad Jean saw some adversity because we need to know when we're looking at these prospects, can they be a nail as well as a hammer? And Jean Matsumoto can. He's very good. The sky's the limit. Chin might be questionable. It's too early to tell because Brad is not a power guy. And Brad backed him up a few times and cracked him real good. And Jean was like, uh-oh. But for now, Gene looked good. And I'm glad he was in a little bit of trouble. And frankly, I don't think this takes anything away from bad Katona. First of all, he was a big-ass underdog. And second of all, he looked good in this entire fight. Just wasn't as fast. Wasn't as sharp or as clean. And that's the fighting game. There's literally always somebody better until you get to the top. Then we had the featured prelim of the evening. The first leg of the plus money safety play. We had Almabayev taking on Matheus Nicolau. All week long, I kept saying, I don't know how anybody could pick Matheus Nicolau here. I kept saying, I don't know why the odds are tightening. Asu should be a 200-1 favorite. And I get it. I get it now. We watched this fight. First round, almost nothing happened. Literally almost nothing. Asu landed, 5 strikes? Matheus landed a couple of strikes. Like, nothing happened in that first round. And it was bizarre because it's like, whoa, Asu, you're this forward pressure wrestler. Why are you not wrestling? What are you doing? Second round, Asu does try to wrestle. And Matheus threatens a guillotine. This is going to be a theme on the night. Threatens a guillotine. Ends up on top. Gives Asu a little bit of a hard time. All of a sudden, Matheus is winning scrambles. Matheus Nicolau wins the second round. Third round, all Asu. Moving forward. Cleaner striking. Gets the takedowns. Avoids a bullshit guillotine attempt. Ends up on top. Raining down strikes. Round 2 and 3, clear as day. Clear as day. 1 was the questionable round. And not because it was close in back and forth, but because almost nothing happened. If I'm a judge, frankly, I say Asu Almabayev wins that first round because he was moving forward. What's the scoring criteria? Effective striking, not really much on either side. Effective grappling, nothing on either side. Octagon control, there was no damage to consider. So octagon control. Asu controlled the octagon in the first round. He was moving forward. So Asu wins that fight, 29-28. Was it exciting? No. Do I get why some people are on Matheus? Yeah, because his grappling looked good. He defended some takedowns early. When they were on the ground, he threatened with a heel hook. He threatened with a knee bar. He threatened with a guillotine. Asu was able to survive all of them, obviously, end up on top, won the fight. So Matheus Nicolau, yes, third loss in a row, 2 by devastating knockout, and then now a decision. Does he suck? No. Is the UFC going to cut him? I'm not sure. Because who are you going to give him next? He could definitely beat some people, but what does that get you? If you keep Matheus, here, let's play matchmaker. If you keep Matheus Nicolau around for a little while and he beats a prospect, all you did was screw yourself out of a prospect. And now you have a guy who has 3 losses in a row who just got to win. Who cares? That doesn't benefit the division. So it's a real tricky situation. They should probably cut him, unfortunately for him, because he has all the skills, just didn't have the chin to hang with some of the great strikers. And then obviously, you're going to lose to some of the phenomenal wrestlers, which is what we saw in the third round. Had success in the second and the first round. They just stared at each other, and it was what it was. But first leg of the plus money safety parlay hit, and that took us to the first fight of the main card. We had Darren Elkins taking on Daniel Pineda, and this was a slobber knocker. This was a slug fight. This was also the sloppiest display of bullshit I've ever seen. I bet on Darren Elkins. I picked and bet on Darren Elkins 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. Got him at plus money. If you didn't see Jacob's Lock of the Week video till late, and then I saw somebody comment they tried to bet on Darren, he was minus 150. Well, if you wait, that's what happens. Darren Elkins was a very popular underdog to the point that he became a favorite. But I got to tell you, I was sweating this one. Because Darren Elkins, listen, guys, between us girls, Darren Elkins kind of sucks. He's not that good. He's just tough. He's tough as shit. But he's not good. What was good? That was mid-level wrestling at best. The scramble skills were borderline shit. Let me break down the fight for you. Darren Elkins moves forward with sloppy ass striking like this. Then he would shoot a takedown. His head would be way up and on the neck up, just here's my throat, here's my Adam's apple. I swear I'm a man. You could see an Adam's apple. And then Daniel Pineda would grab his neck, jump guillotine or like push forward with guillotine, end up on top with guillotine, end up on side with guillotine, end up on back with guillotine. Darren Elkins would pop his head out and then put it back to the side. Daniel Pineda would grab guillotine again on the side, on the top. It was like the sloppiest bullshit I've ever seen. Daniel Pineda was just guillotine, 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 guillotine. And while a few of them looked close, like there was a few times I was like, holy shit, he might get this. It was just the same rinse and repeat nonsense, grab the neck and squeeze over and over and over. So on one hand, you want to be like, Daniel, it's not working. Stop reaching for the bullshit. It's not working. On the other hand, you want to be like, Darren Elkins, how many times does your dumb ass have to be in a guillotine before you stop looking up? Stop looking up. I understand. I'm a wrestler. I wrestled my whole life. I understand. They teach you. Hit the legs, head up, run through. I get it. That's what I teach kids when I've been coaching for 20 years. But Jesus Christ, how many times does somebody have to squeeze your neck before you say, you know, maybe chip down on this one? Hey, instead of running through this way, I'm going to dump it this way. I'm going to run the pipe instead. Let me keep my ear to his belly button on the inside instead of throwing my ear on the hip on the outside. And yeah, he won the fight, so we're splitting hairs here. But I was legit worried because I watched the whole main card at a restaurant on mute. And watching fights on mute gives you a different perspective because I don't have a biased commentary spewing nonsense one way or the other. So I don't know whose side they were on. But I know earlier in the night, there were several fights where I was like, what the hell is the commentary talking about? Like, you guys are very high on this person, and that's not how this fight's going. So I don't know what they thought about this fight, but I know that I was sweating it. Because if I'm a judge, Daniel Pineda was closer to finishing this fight. I still think Darren Elkins won because he was dogged. He was shooting takedowns. He was winning the scrambles. He'd end up in some other scramble immediately after like an idiot, but he was winning the scrambles. So I think Darren Elkins won. He's an absolute dog. That's why he's a fan favorite. We all love Darren Elkins. Daniel Pineda retired. The right man won this fight, but it did not need to be as close as it was. It just didn't. Then we had just an absolute, dude, imagine being Jake Hadley. You're this shrimpy, puny little turd. You're at 125 pounds. You move up to 135 pounds. You beat Cowlin Loughran, the dude who pretends that he's Conor McGregor. You think you're the man. You're running around. They give you Brady Highstand as an opponent. You're like, oh, shit, a big, strong wrestler. You're an underdog. You're an underdog. And then you get a short notice opponent, the opponent who got his ass kicked on the Contender Series. And this short notice opponent comes in and wins. Jake Hadley, what the hell are you doing? What are you doing? And this was weird. Like, this was weird. We had eye pokes. We had all sorts of issues in this fight. There was points. Like, this fight was weird. Okay? So I'm going to put all of that out there. But it doesn't matter. It should have never been that close. It should have never been that close. Cameron Smotherman was always a decent striker. He had good power, good combinations, but hates to grapple. And Jake Hadley didn't really throw in forward process combinations. He didn't just move forward to ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. He did not move forward doing that. He shot one or two takedowns. They were half-assed. They weren't set up with the strikes, and he didn't get them. So ultimately, yeah, the fouls, the eye pokes, all that nonsense all fed into this. But Jake Hadley fumbled the bag here, man. Holy shit, did he fumble the bag. He was gifted an opportunity. He was supposed to lose against his first opponent, who was a big, strong wrestler. They gave him a short notice guy who got his ass kicked. Got his ass kicked on the Contender Series. And Jake Hadley was supposed to blow through him and couldn't. That's a problem for Jake Hadley. Because now you're at a weight class you don't really belong in. You didn't have the success you wanted at 125. So you go to 135. You're not having the success you want at 135. So now what do you do with your career? And that's the unfortunate reality of this sport. You are only as good as your last fight. Unless you're a tried and true. Unless you're a vet that has showed up and put on exciting fight after exciting fight, you are only as good as your last fight. And unfortunately for Jake Hadley, his last fight was this one, where he was getting beat to the punch. He wasn't moving forward as fast as he should. He couldn't get the takedowns that he should have easily gotten. So all the credit in the world to Cameron Smotherman. Yes, there were fouls and there were some opportunities seized there, but the way I see this, Jake Hadley blew it and Cameron Smotherman took every opportunity he had to win this fight, and he did. Then we had this second half of the plus money safety parlay, and that was Charles Johnson. Charles Johnson came on our show. He was on this channel, on the call-in show. He answered phone calls from you guys, from the premium members. And he talked about his cardio. He talked about the work he puts in, the times he's running on laps, and the athlete he was as a track athlete and how he wrestled. And I was all in. I was like, yes, this dude's going to be in the safety parlay. He should smoke Sumudaerji. And it was an interesting fight because he won the fight. It was I thought the decision was pretty straightforward. It was the pressure. It was the cardio that mattered. And the cardio is what did it. But Sumudaerji's good. Sumudaerji's dangerous. He was there. He was hanging. He was ready. He defended takedowns. Charles Johnson did try to wrestle, didn't have a ton of success. And that wasn't like, that had to do with Sumudaerji and how good he is. So Sumudaerji's good. Certainly better than his record implies. But Charles Johnson got it done, and ultimately it was cardio. And I want this to be a lesson to any fighter out there. Hey, Robelis Despaigne, you giant fucking idiot. Cardio you can control. You can control cardio. I just couldn't imagine my entire livelihood, my career, my job, all my hopes, my dreams, everything being in this world, right? My entire career is being an MMA fighter. My identity is being a fist fighter in a cage. And I don't have the energy to actually fist fight in that cage for more than 2 minutes. I will never understand that, ever. You will never see me have sympathy for somebody who doesn't have cardio. Cardio is the only thing you can control. You cannot control your chin. God gives that to you. You can't control the power in your hands. God gives that to you. You can work on your technique, but ultimately some people just have power and some people don't. Your speed, you can work on it, but you have it or you don't. Your cardio, that's on you. You can control your cardio. So while I went negative with it, bitching about people like Robelis, let's go positive with it. Charles Johnson won this fight with his cardio and his pressure. And good for him because that's the one thing he can control. He can control how hard he works in the gym, and he worked his ass off in the gym. He told all of us on the call-in show how hard he's working, and he looked good. He got it done, plus 126 safety parlay. Happy for Charles Johnson, the only fighter in the UFC to win 4 fights in 2024. The only one. We all talked about Kevin Holland, how active he is. Alex Pereira, how active he is. Charles Johnson's more active than all of them. Congratulations to Chuck. Co-main event. Holy shit. I'll tell you right now, I got the co-main event wrong and the main event wrong. And the funniest part about that is, if you rewind this video, I made money. Jacob made money. Premium members all made money. Everybody made money. We did well. And that's what we do here. We tell you to go to WeWantPicks.com. We tell you to click Become a Member. It's freaking $10 a month. $10. We made money in the last event. We made money the event before that. Of the last 7 events, last 8 events, I made money the last 7. 7 of 8 events were up money. But I missed the pick on the co-main on this event and the main on this event. My picks and bets are not the same thing. And that's an important note. And the reason I'm saying that is because some dumb dick loser is going to comment. You said Kyler Phillips was going to win. Yeah, I thought Kyler Phillips was going to win. And go watch the first round of this fight. He looked like he was going to win. And what did I say? Rob Font's a phenomenal boxer, but the only thing you need to do to beat anybody at New England Cartel is take him down. That's it. And Kyler Phillips, first round, took his ass down. Got it to the ground. Won that round. Clearly, there we go. We're good. Just take him down. Just take somebody from the New England Cartel down, and you are good to go. But Rob Font's a dog. He's a tough guy. He's fought some of the best on planet Earth. Nobody said he sucked. Nobody said he was a quitter or a coward. Just said he's older. He's a little slower. And if you can take him down, you can beat him. And Kyler Phillips went from unbelievable cardio in his last fight to slowing down big time in this fight. Went from forward pressure, nonstop striking to like in and out striking, an occasional takedown. This was a close fight. And Rob Font got it done. And he got it done with just Northeast grit. And I am going to lean on the Northeast grit. I'm from Connecticut. I got that Northeast grit in me. If you don't live in a cold weather state, you just don't know what it's like. Those hard-ass winters toughen you up. Wrestling is a winter sport. There'd be this much ice on the ground, and we'd be running sprints outside. Firemen carry sprints up and down the football bleachers in 3-degree temperatures. Hard-ass Northeast winters toughen you up. There's a reason all the good wrestling states, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, Iowa, those are all cold-ass states. And Rob Font has that cold-ass state dog in him. But I still blame Kyler Phillips for blowing it. You had a clear path. There was a very clear path to victory here. Very clear. Throw a shit ton of strikes, shoot. Shit ton of strikes, shoot. Shit ton of strikes, shoot. And you win this fight. And that's not what he did. Did it early. Didn't do it late. Oh, good for Rob Font. Good for Rob Font. Kyle Phillips, very inconsistent. Then we had the main event of the evening. I picked this wrong as well. I apologize. There was a few people in the comments section that I was going back and forth with. I apologize to all of you. I was wrong. Straight up, I was wrong. Not only was I wrong, like I didn't even have a moment of success here. Last week, I picked Brandon Royval. People came from my head. Tatsuro Taira, next world champion. Tatsuro Taira is if he can't wrestle, he's got nothing. And I felt the same here. I basically thought this was the same matchup. No joke. I thought this was the exact same matchup. I was like, Anthony Hernandez, we know he's tough, but he's a jiu-jitsu nerd. Michel Pereira, he's fast, he's strong, he's all the things, good striking, powerful, all the things. Turns out he is all of those things, but he's all hammer and no nail. And early on, if you only watched the first 3 minutes of the first round, you were on my side, baby, because Michel Pereira looked good. He had Anthony in trouble, was landing clean strikes. Anthony was a mess. But Anthony was just tough and got a takedown. Took a little bit of the wind out of Michel Pereira's sails. Second round, tough, got a takedown. Took a little more wind. And then ultimately, Michel Pereira is just a giant, jacked, Greek god-looking nail who can't be a good nail. He couldn't take his beating and then go to the corner, reset, and come out and be like, all right, motherfucker, you're probably going to get the takedown, but I'm going to hit you hard as shit before you get it. He couldn't do that. He was just like hesitant and waiting. And it sucked to watch. It sucked to watch. Especially because from this point going forward, now we know. Michel Pereira is all hammer and no nail. If it's somebody he can bully, somebody he can pose his will on, Michel Pereira is going to win because he's more athletic, faster, stronger than almost everybody in this division. But he's all hammer and no nail. He can't take his beating. And there's something to be said. If you took Darren Elkins' dog, put it inside of Michel Pereira's body, Michel Pereira is the world champion. I 100% believe in that. So this was just Michel Pereira not being able to deal with the pressure. So congratulations to Anthony Hernandez. I will say this, guys. He can't beat Jarikus. He can't beat Sean Strickland. Anthony Hernandez won this fight, and congratulations, he beat the shit out of Michel Pereira. But he beat the shit out of a guy who just like kind of let the beating happen. He can't, like, who could he do this to in the top 5? Now, that's a serious question. I'm not just continuing to cope and shit. Who could he do that to in the top 5? Who in the top 5 of the middleweight division can Anthony Hernandez beat? Can't beat the champ. Can't beat Sean Strickland. Maybe Izzy, because we know Izzy can't defend takedowns, but Izzy will fucking touch him up on the feet and stay far away. So who can he beat at 185 pounds? Either way, congratulations to Anthony Hernandez, and sorry to everybody that I argued with. Can't win them all. What we can do, though, is give you winning picks, bets, and breakdowns, as we have done 7 of the last 8 cards. This is a look at the next 4 cards. You're going to get UFC 308. UFC 309, UFC Edmonton, UFC Vegas 100. 4 spectacular fight cards. And if you want to go to WeWantPicks.com, you can unlock all the picks, the bets, the round line leans, the artificial intelligence, the tools. It's $10 for a month. 1 month is going to get you these 4 fight cards. WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member at the top, unlock the picks, the bets, and the tools. One of those tools is the Data Analyzer. It's going to give you data, insight, and information for every fighter on every fight card for the rest of the year. You're also going to be able to watch the actual fights. There's a full tape index built into this. You're going to get the line movement tracker, opening odds, current odds, win probability, line movement for every fighter on every card. You're going to get the Prop Hunter, a curated set of data specifically designed to help you find prop bets. You're going to get the DraftKings Optimizer. It builds DraftKings lineups for you. It'll build 150 lineups for you with one click of the button. It's preloaded with the best DraftKings ownership projections on the planet. And you're also going to get breakdowns for more than just UFC. PFL, Bellator, LFA, all the regional cards. Artem's breaking those down. We have an artificial intelligence giving you picks and bets as well. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top.